180 BC, the same night. In Chang'an, a man copies an imperial decree by candlelight. On the Mediterranean shore, a soldier sharpens his spear. Along the Nile, a stonecutter chisels words into rock. None of them know the others exist. But their fates are already quietly intertwined. History was never a one-man show for emperors. It was built by millions of ordinary people who had no idea they were changing the world, one ordinary day at a time. Let's start with a detail most people don't know. Before Emperor One of Han ever wore the dragon robe, he wasn't called emperor, he was called the King of Dai. He spent 17 years in the borderlands, far from the power center of Chang'an, far from the bloody storm of the Lu clan's grip on the throne. History books call him kind and frugal, but what they don't say is that in those 17 years, he watched with his own eyes how people rebuilt their lives from the ruins of war, how a nation could rot from the inside out, and how it could slowly grow back again. In 180 BC, Empress Dowager Lu died. The court ministers conspired to crown a new emperor, someone controllable, someone weak. They chose Lu Heng. His advisors all begged him not to go. It's a trap, they said. But Lu Heng went anyway. He traveled from the borderlands to Chang'an with just 6 trusted men, sending scouts ahead 5 times before each move, every step calculated like a tightrope walk above a cliff. He wasn't fearless. He was terrified, and he went anyway. That is the crossroads of fate and choice. Not I was destined for greatness. But, I knew the risk. I chose to walk forward. It was that single choice that launched the rule of Wen and Jing, lifting the Han dynasty from the ruins of war to the threshold of the Golden Age. That same year, on the eastern shore of the Mediterranean, the Battle of Cynocephaly. This was the battle that would permanently decide the fate of the Mediterranean world. The Roman legion versus the Macedonian phalanx. The Macedonian phalanx was the greatest infantry formation of its age. Alexander the Great had used it to sweep through Persia and carve an empire from Greece to India. For over a century, it had seemed invincible. But at Cynocephaly, it met its nemesis. The Roman legion system. The Romans had invented a new way of fighting, breaking the army into small, flexible units that could pivot mid-battle and strike from unexpected angles. The phalanx depended on flat ground and perfect formation. Once its lines broke, it collapsed like dominoes. The Greek historian Polybius witnessed the battle firsthand and later wrote, "The Roman victory was not a triumph of courage alone, it was a triumph of system over tradition." After Cynocephaly, Macedonia surrendered. Rome declared itself the protector of the Greek world. The wheel of history turned one quiet click forward. But for every ordinary soldier on that battlefield, all they knew was, they made it out alive. Along the Nile, that same year, Ptolemy V was just 14 years old, newly in power. He faced enemies on all sides, internal rebellions tearing the kingdom apart, and the Seleucid Empire pressing in from the north. The priests were his only reliable political allies. To keep their loyalty, he issued a royal decree, inscribed on a stone tablet in 3 scripts: ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, Demotic script, and ancient Greek. That stone is the Rosetta Stone. Ptolemy V carved that stone for political survival, to tell the priests, I support you, you support me. He had no idea that 2,000 years later, it would become the key to deciphering an entire lost civilization. Just as Camus wrote in The Myth of Sisyphus, one must imagine Sisyphus happy. Not because he knows the outcome, but because he is fully present in the act. Ptolemy V's political calculation, by a twist of fate, became one of the most important gifts in the history of human civilization. That same year, in Mesopotamia, the Parthian Empire had just risen. You may not have heard of it, but it would go on to become Rome's most persistent enemy, defeating Roman armies 3 times, including the Battle of Carrhae in 53 BC, where the Roman general Crassus lost his entire army. In 180 BC, Parthia was still just a newly established nomadic power, absorbing villages on the Persian plateau one by one into its territory. The farmers in those villages had no choice. They didn't know what Parthia was. They didn't know what Rome was. They only knew, is this year's harvest enough to pay the taxes, enough to feed the family? But history doesn't care whether you understand it or not. History just keeps moving forward. Central Asia. The Kingdom of Bactria. This is a country almost forgotten today, wedged between India, Persia, and the steppe peoples, speaking Greek, worshipping Greek gods, building Greek-style cities in the yellow earth of Central Asia. A strange Greek flower blooming in the middle of the ancient world. Around 180 BC, Bactrian merchants were already walking a trade route that was quietly taking shape, silk moving west, spices moving east. This road was later discovered by Zhang Qian, opened up by Emperor Wu of Han, and named by history as the Silk Road. But the first people to walk it weren't trying to connect Eastern and Western civilization. They weren't trying to change history. Somerset Maugham wrote in The Moon and Sixpence, "I used up everything I had to live an ordinary life." Those early merchants used everything they had just to survive, just to bring home a little profit, a piece of new cloth for the family. But the footprints they left became the road that changed the world. In 180 BC, so much happened in this world. Lu Hong chose to walk into danger and gave China 30 years of peace. A Roman soldier chose to hold his line and witnessed the birth of an empire. Ptolemy V chose to carve a stone and left behind the key to a lost civilization. A merchant chose to set out one more time and took the first step of the Silk Road. None of them knew what they were really doing. Or rather, they only knew what they were doing, but not why. That is the strangest thing about fate. You think you are choosing, but fate was already waiting for you to choose. You think fate was written in advance, but your every choice is fate itself. Tolstoy wrote in War and Peace, "History is the unconscious, swarm-like life of mankind. No single person can foresee its direction." The people of 180 BC had no idea they were writing history. But they were. And right now, so are we. We just don't know yet which page we're writing. You tell me in the comments. Did fate choose them, or did they choose fate?